child-selected award in the country. So each year, thousands of Vermont kids in grades 4 to 8 read the books, that's you guys, and then they vote on their favorite. And this year, as you know, what book did you choose? Smile. I yelled yes. This is notable for many reasons. One of them being that this is the first time a graphic novel, or more precisely a graphic memoir, has won the DCF award. It is definitely the first time that a book about orthodontia has won. But before Raina begins, Joyce Babbitt, the librarian from Browns River Middle School, has something to share.
Come on up, students. We love this book. We were really excited to get a chance to meet Raina and ask if we could make a movie out of it. And so Charlotte here took the time to do this. Charlotte, do you want to say anything to the group?
It was really fun making this video with all my friends, and it was fun.
Great. We hope you enjoy it. And for those that did read the book, hopefully you'll pick up on the different scenes. It's much longer. It is 5 minutes for this showing, and then Charlotte's going to hopefully post it in the longer version. So 32 minutes is to actually announce you. So thank you very much.
So we just need to make sure the volume is up.
Is it okay if I drop you off first, Raina? That's fine. Kelly and Melissa, can you walk Raina to our porch? Not sure, is you guys? That's the next wrong name. Hey, stop. Raina? Ow, Raina? Oh my gosh, are you okay? What happened? Go get her mom, quick. My pig. It's okay, honey. It's going to be okay. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, there's one, two. Where's the other one? I don't see it. No, it's not here. Rita, it's not patient. I'm glad to see everything really fast. I didn't call last night. Let's, why don't you open up and see what you see? That's not good. Seeing the things look when you fell, you injured the bone above your teeth, maybe so when you put them back in and without finding the other teeth. Can I see? I look like a vampire! I'm sure there's some way you can fix this, but until then, you're gonna have to look at it for a while. I can't believe you guys would think I would laugh at getting dance. No, but forget it. You guys don't respect me. Hey, Raina. You guys want a reaction from me? Fine. Go ahead for a dog breath. Karen, I am not a dog. And I do not have dog breath. Don't worry, we've never called you that. No, but you've been calling me a vampire. And I'm not gonna deal with this anymore. I've got to do something. That's not. Okay, we'll ever figure out how to notice me. Come, Meyer. We'll take that. First thing you need is Stanley. Oh, what? One time you can, you'll be fine. I don't know about this. Whoa, buddy! God, please, don't visit. You're making things bad. My mouth is in so much pain. Get her some Tylenol or something for pain. Come on, you're done. I gotta stay. Yeah. Is that you? What happened to me? Let me get you some water. Yes. What happened? Well, we did a cookie. We did it once. And I guess we did make it. It's pretty busy. But you really didn't think about it and ask me first? Ma'am, please, the other patients will hear. I don't care. My daughter is fake. Let's go.
That was the world premiere of the movie version of Smile. So how does it feel to see your life on the big screen?
Surreal.
I would like to present to Raina Telgemeir the special award for winning the DCF award for 2012. We have a special picture made every year that corresponds to the book. And our artist is Diana Dunn, who is with us today. Where is Diana? Can you stand up? There she is. Would you like to come up to accept your award?
Yes.
You
Whoa.
never had to make an award that was for a graphic novel before, so this is kind of trying to do the same style as the novelist. But so, I'm not going to tell you anything about Raina's life because she is. So I would like to turn this over to Raina Telgemeir.
Thanks. Thank you guys so much. That was really amazing to see my life reenacted by other people on a screen. So thank you for doing that. And most importantly, thank all of you for voting for Smile for the Dorothy Canfield Fisher Award. This is really thrilling. This is a beautiful award. Thank you so much. And I really couldn't be more thrilled to be here. I've never won a regional award before this one, and knowing that it was you guys that made this possible really feels great. Before we get started talking about the book Smile, I would love to read a chapter from the book. So what I will need for that is 2 volunteers to help me read the story. Okay, are you a good reader? Brown t-shirt, you look very enthusiastic. Are you a good reader out loud? Okay, what? Sure, okay, come on up. And then one more person. How about you in the front with a sweatshirt that says Bayview Yacht Club? All right, so what are your names?
Lucia.
Lucia and?
Dylan.
And Dylan, okay. So do you want to play Raina?
Sure.
And you're going to play Raina's mom, or a couple of Raina's friends.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to be good at this, I can tell already. The panels are going to be on the computer, so you're just going to look at what it says up there and read along with the characters. And I'm going to play the dentist and some sound effects and stuff like that. So if you guys want to come a little closer, I'm just going to pass the mic to you guys. Starts with you.
Time to open your presents. Earrings. Earrings. Oh, cute. Earrings. Now you have to let me pierce my ears, Mom.
I know. When do you get your braces, Raina?
Friday.
What about your ears? When do you get them pierced?
About a week later.
Cool, so you look normal again.
Back at the orthodontist. Twist, push, yank, shove, twist, 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 scrape, tighten, pull, twist, twist, etc. I'll be this guy. Actually, no, you be this guy.
That's it.
Braces work through subtle pressure. Little by little, the pressure is increased.
Kinda weird, huh?
Yeah.
And little by little, teeth move.
My lips aren't used to them yet.
You may experience slight discomfort during this time. Touch.
Ow! Ow. Ow. Ow.
Mashed potatoes.
Ow. Ow. My whole head hurts so much.
Why don't you bang it against the wall a few times? That way, when you stop banging, it'll hurt less.
Thanks for the sympathy, Dad.
Oh, come on, let's go see a movie or something. Wanna come, Will?
Yeah. Can we get popcorn, Daddy?
Raina's not supposed to eat popcorn while she has her braces.
It's okay. Will can still have some. I'm not into popcorn anyway. Of course, the second you can't have something, it starts to smell amazing. Ow.
Oatmeal.
Raina, you sure you wanted to get your ears pierced today?
I'm sure.
Okay, I just wondered because your teeth are hurting so much that...
Mom! It's different. I didn't really want to get braces, but I want to get earrings. Okay. So what if I'm afraid of needles? I want to do this. I think.
I'll be this guy. We do the piercing with these ones.
Okay.
We draw dots where earring goes. Now we pierce. Take deep breath. Chagunk. Chagunk. Done. See? Very pretty.
That didn't even hurt much, Mom.
That's good.
Saline to keep them moist. Antibacterial ointment so it doesn't get infection.
I'm starting to feel like a real teenager.
Thank you both very much. Round of applause for our readers. All right, so I am Raina Telgemeir of GoRaina.com. This is where the presentation usually starts, but we've already begun. So let me tell you that up to this point in my career, I've done 4 Babysitters Club graphic novels. 3 of them are here today. I have obviously done the book Smile. That's my most recent book. And the book I have coming out this September is called Drama. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as I go further. But the first thing I'd like to share with you is my influences and inspiration. People always ask me, what inspired you to become an author, an illustrator, and a graphic novelist? Here's the answer. Cartoons. When I was a little kid, I loved watching cartoons on TV, and I bet a lot of you did as well. I loved Mickey Mouse, I loved Disney cartoons, I loved Scooby-Doo, I loved the Smurfs. I remember running home from kindergarten every day and hoping that I'd get there in time for Scooby-Doo and Inspector Gadget. And I also loved to read, and I remember learning to read when I was in kindergarten and 1st grade and feeling like I had been given a very important gift. And that just continued as I got older. And a lot of the books I liked to read were about realistic kids, whether they were historical figures like the ones in Little House on the Prairie, or just everyday kids like the ones in Beverly Cleary's Ramona series. But I also liked little bits of fantasy twists here and there, like, you know, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim is my favorite book. It was my favorite book growing up. So when I was 9 years old, I discovered comics. And I discovered these in my hometown newspaper, which was in San Francisco, the San Francisco Chronicle. And my very first favorite comic strip was Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes, woo, yeah, is a strip about a boy named Calvin, and he has a stuffed tiger named Hobbes. And when everybody else leaves the room, Hobbes comes to life. So it's never really determined whether he's a figment of Calvin's imagination or if he's real and other people just can't see that. It's never resolved. But anyway, they go on a lot of adventures. They do things like make toast, and it manages to be funny. And they have great, vivid imaginations, and I love that. And the thing I love the most about Calvin and Hobbes is that it's so much fun to look at. It's really well drawn. And I mean, this is just lines on paper with a little bit of color, but I feel like those simple things express so much emotion. Calvin is dancing, he's running, he's leaping, he's on a sled, he's doing so much stuff, and it is just so wonderful to look at this comic strip. Another comic strip that I really loved when I was growing up is one called For Better or For Worse by an artist named Lynn Johnston, who's from Canada, and it is about a very, very average suburban family. There is a mom and a dad and a brother and a sister. And I also had a mom and a dad and a brother and a sister. And the kids were about the same age as me, so the stuff they were interested in was the stuff that I was interested in. Not so much what their parents were interested in, but you know, the older I got, the more I started to appreciate their parents. The really unique thing about this comic strip is that every year the characters would have birthdays and they would get older. So Michael, who's the son of the family, at the beginning of the strip he was 5, but by the time the strip had ended, he had grown up, he had gone to college, he became a writer, he got married, he had kids, and his little baby sister Elizabeth had done the same thing. She had grown up, she had decided to become a teacher, she went and lived in the Northwest Territories in Canada and met a lot of interesting people. So instead of these feeling like cartoon characters that I was reading about in a newspaper, it really felt like they were real people. I swore I knew these people. I swore they were like next door neighbors of mine who I had known all of my life. And another book that I read when I was about 10 years old is one called Barefoot Gen. Now, up to this point, all the comics I had read were known as funnies because they were hilarious comic strips that were in the newspaper. This book is not hilarious in any way. It is a story about the atomic bombing of Hiroshima in World War II. But it is a comic book. So I started to read the comic book, I started to like the characters in the story, and at the end of this book, a bomb falls and several of the main characters actually die. And when I read this, I was completely devastated and could not believe that such a horrible thing had happened, but I also felt like somebody had tricked me by giving me a comic book to read about this in the first place. So I cried for about 2 days, but it was very eye-opening for me. It was very much an example to me that comics could be about just about anything, and they could communicate very, very powerful stories. So fortunately, not all of the comics that I grew up reading were dismal and about atomic bombs falling and killing people. Who here has read Bone? Awesome. Who here has met the guy that made Bone? He's really, really nice. Okay, another question for you guys is when you guys read Bone, was it in color or black and white? Color. Overwhelmingly color. And that's very interesting because when I read Bone, it was a black and white comic book. The reason for that is because Jeff Smith, the creator, used to self-publish his books. And that means he was spending his own money to print and distribute and get these comics out into the world. And it is a lot cheaper to make black and white comics than it is to make color comics. So a lot of the artwork that I grew up being inspired by was black and white. So that's what I started out with. Well, okay, sorry. Here is a color comic that I did when I was in high school. Bad segue there. My husband's shaking his head at me. This is what I did when I was younger. I would just take conversations between my friends and I would make them into comics. I would twist the stories around just a little bit, but I like to draw stories about myself and my friends. This was actually before I read Bone, so. I decided that for college I wanted to go to an art school, and the school I ended up choosing is called the School of Visual Arts, and it's in New York City. So that was what led me to move all the way from California all the way over here to New York to go to school in New York. So SVA, this is a great college. They have a lot of different things you can take there, like all of the classic art school examples, like painting and sculpture and photography. But they also had a cartooning program at SVA, and I was very excited by that. I wanted to come and learn in a place where other people respected comic books. But I did not know at the time exactly what kinds of comics I wanted to make. It didn't really fit into a mold. Most of my comics were about myself and my friends, and all the comics I had read were about things like kids and their stuffed tigers or Batman, and I didn't think I wanted to do either one of those things. So I decided to be an illustration major, and that just means you're getting really good at painting and drawing and making single pictures to tell stories. However, I would be given an assignment, and this assignment was a painting assignment about a magical transformation. So I would do a painting, and then I would do another painting. And it was very hard to resist doing another painting after that. And then that really wasn't enough for me, so I'd do another painting. And then I'd do another painting. And when you look at my paintings in sequence on a wall, what does it look like? It's like a comic. There's no words in it, but it is a story told in sequence. I think it's just impossible for me to get sequential storytelling out of my brain. It's what I love, and it's what I love to do. So while I was at SVA, I did take some classes in cartooning, and I just wanted to practice. I just wanted to experiment. This is a single-page story about the fact that my college had a lot of stairs. And this one is about my first cup of tea. This was actually supposed to be the next slide after I talked about Jeff Smith being a black and white cartoonist. Anyway, this was very much inspired by the cartoonists that I grew up loving, though. So this comic is a single-page story about my first cup of tea. And I was mostly just interested in conveying a feeling and capturing a memory on paper. So after I would draw my comics, I would take them to my nearest Kinko's or Staples. You can even do this at the library. But I would Xerox all of my comics, and then I would take a fancy stapler called a long reach stapler, and I would fold everything together and staple it into what are called mini comics. A mini comic is basically what I just described. It's folded paper stapled on the spine, short stories. Each of these booklets was 12 pages long, and I called the series Takeout because I like eating. And I did 7 issues of Takeout, and they were all short stories about my life. And increasingly, they became short stories about my childhood. And altogether, 7 issues, 12 pages each, I managed to make and distribute about 7,000 copies of these little books altogether. And that meant that I was going into comic book stores and asking retailers to sell my work for me. I was selling them over my website, so people could email me and say, hey, I want your comic. OK, I'll send you $1 in the mail, and I'd send them a comic in return. And I also went to comic conventions. Has anybody been to a comic convention before? Couple people. I don't know if they have any in Vermont, per se, but they do happen all over the country. One of the biggest ones is the picture you see behind me right now, the New York Comic Con, and this happens every October. And about 100,000 people, all of whom love comics, all come together in one place to basically geek out together for a weekend. So you've got your Archie comics, you've got Marvel comics, you've got DC comics, you've got all the big companies, and in the middle of all of that, somebody like myself can rent a small table and sell my work to whoever's there. So I went to lots and lots of smaller comic conventions, larger comic conventions. I met so many other cartoonists. It was a great chance to sort of pick people's brains and to make friends with people that were interested in the same things as me. One of the friends I made happened to turn into my husband. Hi, Dave. Why don't you wave your hands and do a dance for us? OK, there he is in the front. He is also a cartoonist. So cartoonist love, it exists. It's great. You guys might be a little young for this story, but. So mini comics were actually the way that I got picked up by Scholastic Graphics, which is their comic book imprint. And Scholastic was just starting up a comic imprint at this time, and they were looking for new people to work with. And the first comic that they actually published was Jeff Smith's Bone, and that's when it was published in color when Scholastic picked it up. So they were like, OK, we're publishing Bone. What else can we publish? Oh, there's this girl named Raina, and she makes these cool mini comics. Let's work with her. But of course, all of the comics I had made were like 12 pages long, and they wanted me to make books that were 200 pages long. So what I ended up doing was teaming up with an already existing property, The Babysitter's Club. That was a series of novels that was very popular when I was a kid, and I was really a big fan when I was a kid too. So they asked me if I wanted to adapt these into graphic novels, and that was like a dream come true for me. So I took the first 4 books in the Babysitter's Club series and made them into 4 graphic novels. Some of which are for sale here today. Excellent. And so that led to me creating Smile. Basically, the whole time I was working on the Babysitter's Club series, I was doing Smile as a side project for myself. It's inspired, obviously, by the time I knocked my 2 front teeth out when I was 11 years old. So here's a picture for you guys. And if you look closely, you can see where after they put my teeth back into my mouth, they did indeed go up higher into my gum than the rest of my teeth. So there was this weird gap in the middle. And my 2 side teeth were longer than the others. I also had a snaggle tooth up here, which people see this photograph and they go, ah, because they see the snaggle tooth. But if you've read Smile, which I have to assume a few of you have, you might know that I did not include the snaggle tooth in this story. And that's because I went into the dentist, they said, oh, you have a snaggle tooth. They pulled it out, and that was the end of that. So this picture actually has more to it than I often tell people. So I did grow up in San Francisco, and I have not lived in San Francisco for 13 years because I've lived in New York that whole time. So it was kind of fun to sort of go back to the place that I grew up and draw a story about it. And that meant going back to my old middle school, which is called Aptos. Not a great place. And my high school, which is called Lowell, which was a pretty great place, actually. I liked high school better than middle school. And I got to go back to me from 1990, which meant I got to draw things like my acid wash jeans and my ridiculous hairstyles. And, you know, you guys probably won't appreciate this until you're a little bit older and you look back on the clothes that you were wearing to the DCF Awards in 2012. But the styles will change by the time you're 20. That's all I'm going to say. So my family became characters in the story. Fortunately, they were all very cool with that. And then oh yeah, here's the family. Thing is, my friends are the ones who sort of teased me a lot and gave me all the grief about the way that I looked when I was going through this experience. So all of my friends became characters in this story. A lot of them are not exactly the nicest characters in the story. People always want to know if I still keep in touch with these people. The answer is yes, but to a very small degree. Like, we might be friends on the internet, but it's not like I'm calling them up to hang out with me anymore, because they were not that nice. So I mentioned that Smile was a side project before it became a book, and what it was a webcomic. And that meant that every week I would post a page on my website. And what's the difference you can see here on the screen from the way it is now? Just yell it out. Right, it used to be a black and white comic because everything I read and loved was black and white. And color takes a lot of time, so I just made the story. Another thing you might notice, if you compare this shot to the very first page in Smile, is that the character is actually wearing a Girl Scout uniform in the book, but this was not the case originally. So small things like that changed between the original inception of the project and the way that the book looks. But, you know, the book is in full color. It's really awesome. The colors did a great job. So in this scene, I'm getting an impression of my mouth made, which is where they take that sticky stuff and shove it up into your mouth, and you have to lie there and wait while it hardens, and you're gagging, and it's horrible. But then they pop it out, and you actually have a perfect mold of your teeth, which is pretty darn cool. There was the time I got a retainer with 2 false teeth on the front of it, which looked very normal when I had it in, but I could pop it out and scare people. There is a flashback sequence to the time I lost my first front tooth when I was in 1st grade. And of course, that happened in a bounce house in a carnival. So it was fun until the part where I got too close to the netting on the side. And when I bounced up and my tooth hooked on the net and went flying, that wasn't so fun. And of course, this was in a gravel parking lot. So I never found my tooth. So now let me show you just a little bit about the process that I go through for making comics. I start out with something called a thumbnail. And a thumbnail is essentially a rough draft version of every single page. So I'm not spending a whole lot of time here, but I am trying to get a sense of what the page is going to have on it. So it's got characters, some stick figures. It's got their dialogue up here. It's got a sound effect like shove. It has a caption that says later. And then all of that information is going to be on the final pages. I'm just taking a little bit more time with the artwork. So once again, here's a thumbnail page. I think most of the information's pretty clear. Oh my gosh, my teeth are so sore. Ooh, cute boy, totally distracted, and so I bang into a locker. So that's the thumbnail version of that page. And then, of course, this is the finished version of that page. So all the information's there. I've just spent more time on it. Do you want me to go backwards again so you can see the thumbnail again? Okay. And it's cool. I actually write entire books in thumbnails. And then my editors will edit from my thumbnails. And the reason that's nice is because I don't spend a lot of time on these pages. So if they decide they want to make massive changes to my story and have me scrap 50 pages and redraw them again, I haven't spent all the time on my artwork just yet. So that is the process for creating the stories. These are the tools that I use. In closer observation, the paper that I use is called Bristol board. It's very thick and smooth and good for holding up to lots of erasing and inking and stuff. I use a clear gridded plastic ruler because drawing boxes after boxes after boxes, you want to make sure the boxes line up with each other. My thumbnails are done with a standard number 2 pencil and a fat plastic eraser and standard computer copy paper. I use a couple of different types of pencils when I work on my pencils. The blue pencil is for the structure of the page. So the boxes, where the characters are going to be placed, any perspective work is done in blue. And then I'll go over that again with a number 2 pencil and actually make the work look the way that I want it to. And then I will go right on top of that with a bottle of India ink, which is waterproof, and a brush. I use a watercolor brush for almost all of my artwork. And I do use a pen sometimes for small details like eyeballs, freckles, buttons, straight lines. And so if you look at my work, the originals, you can sort of see all these different layers happening. There's the blue pencil, and then the regular pencil, and then the inks on top of that. Then I will scan my work into a computer. And this is where you go from having a piece of paper on your desk to having a digital file. And then I take it into a program called Photoshop where I can manipulate it. So Photoshop is great because you can look at your work, and you can get really close into it. You can zoom in just about as far as you like. And instead of using whiteout to correct my mistakes, I will actually correct mistakes digitally. And then the coloring is also done on a computer. And like I said, I'm really happy with the way the colors turned out. That is what a finished graphic novel looks like after all is said and done. This picture is of the blue Babysitter's Club book. That's Marianne Saves the Day. I think that's 168 pages of comics right there. And that book took me 1 year to produce, whereas Smile took me 5 years from start to finish to produce. Drama took me a little less. It took me 2.5 years. So it's not exactly a quick and simple job that I have, but I just love doing it. So keep doing it. The cover of Smile went through a lot of different ideas and transformations. I thought the main character of the story should be on the cover of the book. So I was telling my editors, I should be on the cover. Yeah, me. And they were like, no. They wanted something more representational, something a little bit more simple and graphic. And in the end, I'm happy with the cover. I wanted those silver braces so badly. And for a while, they didn't think they were going to give them to me, but then they did. So win for me. So let me tell you just a little bit about my next book, which is called Drama. And it is about a 7th grader named Callie who is on her school's stage crew. So she is running lights and making costumes and building sets and stuff like that. And the story starts the way that a play begins, which is the music starts, the lights go down, the curtain rises, and there are some actors on a stage, and it turns out those are the main characters in this story, and that's where the story begins. And this is not in sequence, so I'm just going to show you another page that's not from the first part of the book. It's in the middle of the book. Callie is having an argument with her little brother, and so she buries him under the couch cushions. So that will be out in September, and so that is the end of the visual presentation. So let me turn off my little clicker here. And I should add to that in this special box over here, I happen to have 10 copies of, it's not the final version of the book. The first 16 pages are printed in full color, but the rest of the book is printed in black and white. So these are actually not for sale yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Q&A now. And if you ask a really good question, you're going to get to go home with a copy of Drama. So do we have a microphone roving for the questions? Okay. Okay, so somebody has a microphone, I've been told, and is going to pass the mic around to people that have questions. So I just want to confirm that that is ready to go. We're finding the mics. Okay, well, let's start with somebody in the front. Who has a really good question for me? Okay, I'm biased because you're wearing a Smile t-shirt, so I'm going to bring the microphone up to you and start with you.
Do those schools that you went to still exist?
Do the schools that I went to still exist? In fact, they do. And my high school actually has this very long and impressive reputation, and it's considered one of the best schools in the country, blah, 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 which is to say that everybody there is really smart, and I got like C's and D's all through high school. But yeah, it's very prestigious, and the middle school, not so much, but it is still there, and the last I heard, it's actually gotten better because they got a better principal. So here is an advanced reader copy of drama for you. So should we just have them, like, does somebody else want to run the books to them maybe?
Oh, yeah.
So that I don't have to keep running back and
I'll
forth?
run the books.
Okay, bring a book with, and then when they ask the question, I guess. Okay. Okay, who's next? Who do you think I should call on next, Grace? It is actually very helpful if you help me pick people.
All right, the person standing up with the green shirt.
Okay, the person standing up with the green shirt. Grace is going to come over, and we've got a microphone for you to ask your question with.
Green shirt.
Green shirt. Yay, green shirt. Make them juicy questions.
What was it like for you when your teeth fell out? Like, how did it feel?
How did it feel? Well, my memories are starting to get a little bit less good, but I tried to convey exactly how I felt in the book. But I do remember it was very, very painful. But the interesting thing about going through an accident, and some of you might experience this yourselves, is that when you do something terrible like break your arm or knock your 2 front teeth out, you sort of can't process it. You're like in shock. So that kind of helps your body not feel the pain so much. So it's much more painful when you wake up the next morning and you're starting to recover from it. But at the time, it was more just like, what just happened? Did you get your copy of the book? Oh, okay. Well, no. Someone else took it. Okay, good. You did. Okay. Yes, we got to do the back row. We got to do some people back there. Yeah, Dave, you figure it out.
Are you reading more books at the same Are you writing more than one book at the same as in Smile?
Am I going to write a sequel to Smile? Is that the question? Well, for a very long time, I've said no, because the story of my teeth basically ends where the story of Smile ends. And I think my workaround now is that I'm going to write about myself when I was a little bit younger. So I think the next project after drama will indeed end up being a story about me and my family, probably about me and my sister and all the weird pets that she had when we were growing up. That is a genius idea. So everybody that has their hands up right now, put them down. Every one of you. Good job.
What is your favorite short story that you wrote?
What is my favorite short story that I wrote? Well, when I was in college, I was asked to write a story about the first comic that I ever read. And I chose to write about the story Barefoot Gen because even though it wasn't the first comic I ever read technically, it was the one that impacted me the hardest. So I wrote a short story about reading this book and how it made me feel. And I happened to read that book when I was on a camping trip, so it was set on a camping trip. And so it was just about like the power of comics and how you know, they can take you places beyond your imagination. So it's only 3 pages long, but it was the first story that someone read and said, hey, I want to publish this. So it was republished in an anthology. It's the story that Scholastic really gravitated towards when they said they wanted to work with me. They were like, we love this story so much, make it longer. And I was like, it's only 3 pages. I don't know. So I might decide to make that into a longer story at some point, but not yet. Oh my gosh. That was cool. All right. Woo.
You can say it really loud and clear.
I
Out of all the books that I've read? Oh gosh, Calvin and Hobbes. Boy, that's like asking me to choose a favorite child and I have like 100 children. I really like the story where they go to Mars and they meet an alien and they think he's weird, but he thinks they're weird. Yeah, that one. And I really like the one where he transmogrifies into, I think there's the one where he becomes like a mini version of Hobbes, and that one's awesome. And then there's the one where he clones himself, and there's like 20 Calvins running around, and he learns his own flaws by seeing how awful that they are, but he's 6, so he doesn't really learn anything. I could go on about this topic for ages. Okay, I'm letting Dave do the picking, so do we have more copies? Okay. I'm making him run. My favorite Babysitter's Club book that I have written or that I have read? That I've read. Well, there are 131 books in that series. I really like the super specials, which is the ones where every chapter is from a different character's point of view. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to draw a super special. But out of the 4 books that I drew, I think my favorite is number 4, which is the green one, Claudia and Mean Janine. I had a lot of fun drawing that book. So if you have a choice between any of the Babysitter's Club books here today to buy, that one's my favorite. Hey Dave, we got to do some down in the front too. Good question. So that you can all hear the question, what inspired me to write drama? Well, you'll find out if you read the story. When I was in high school, I started getting into choir and musical theater and plays and acting. So I did that for 4 years, and I had a lot of really interesting experiences and met a lot of really cool people. So I wanted to do a story that was sort of taking those memories and mixing them up in a blender until I had something new. So even though the main character in drama is not me, she's inspired by a lot of the things that I experienced, and the friends that she makes are inspired by people that I also met during that time. Yeah. How many do we have left? What was my reaction when I found out that I won the DCF award? I was very excited, and I'll be honest, I found about it on Twitter. So those adults in the audience who are Twitter friends know that I was like, what? Whoa, this is crazy, awesome. Yeah, so I was super thrilled. Who wouldn't be thrilled to win the DCF award? It's the best. Are you sweating yet, Dave?
What was your favorite part about writing Smile?
My favorite part about writing Smile? Well, I'll tell you what my favorite scene to write was in Smile. It's the scene where I ditched Sammy at the dance. Because, I know, what a horrible person, right? Basically, when I started writing the story, I thought it was just going to be a story about teeth. I thought it was simply going to be about my orthodontic experience and sort of chronicling what happened to me. But as I started to write, it seemed like I had to weave in some of the relationships, some of the friendships, some of the non-friendships that affected me during that time. And when it came to writing the Sammy storyline, I felt so bad about what I did to this poor boy, which was to ask him to meet me at a dance and then not show up. Don't do that, you guys. It's not nice. But, you know, I was really nervous. I was really shy. I was really scared. I was really unsure of what was going to happen. So it seemed a lot easier for me to go home and just play Super Mario Brothers 2 that day, which is what I did. And then he never talked to me after that, which was so sad. But, I mean, I deserved it. Okay, do we have one copy left? All right.
How does each story relate to each other?
each story written relate to each other? Do you mean the different books that I've worked on? Well, Smile is the only one that is 100% autobiographical. It is all about my life, my friends, my family. Drama is not exactly like that, but it is coming from my memories as well. I'm just taking those memories and sort of twisting them a little bit so that they're fictionalized. The Babysitter's Club books, I actually did not write those books. They were written by an author named Anne M. Martin, who has been working since the 1970s. So I was reading her books when I was a kid. But The Babysitter's Club was my favorite series when I was like 10. So I felt like I knew those characters. I felt like I really was a part of those stories. So when I adapted them into comics, it still felt like I was kind of working with my own memories. So everything I do, I'm trying to connect it to my personal life somehow, even though sometimes it's fiction. Okay, are we out of books?
Out of books.
Oh, that's okay. We still have time for a few more questions. So if you have a burning question.
So we'll just randomly go around and see who's got questions.
Has Sean read the book? And if so, did he like it?
Has Sean read the book, and if so, did he like it? Well, here's the thing. Sean is not his real name. I'm not going to tell you what his real name is, but I am friends with him on Facebook, and I was wondering if I would get a message from him that was like, so I read your book, and there's this guy named Sean, huh? But I haven't heard anything about it from him. But I have had a couple of people that have known me for a really long time who were like, oh my gosh, is that so-and-so? And I'm like, yeah, it's so-and-so. But I changed his name for, you know, identity protection. And he's doing well. Thank you for asking.
Are you writing a new book now?
Say that one more time.
So are you writing a new book?
I am starting to write a new book. It's going to be the Smile companion book. You guys are so much quieter when you just have a question than when you want a book.
Do you, like, did it get any more orthodontic stuff that was and you still have, like,
Have I had more orthodontic work, and do I still have those teeth from back in the day? Yeah, it's complicated, but it's a lot less complicated than what happened in Smile. Basically, all of the teeth that were rearranged by the end of the story are still in place, but my front 4 teeth got turned into something called crowns. Ask any adult in your life what a crown is, and I bet they'll have one that they can show you up close. But essentially what they do is they take your real tooth and they shave it down into this little tiny stub, and then they put a fake tooth on top of it, and it is made out of porcelain. So my 2 front teeth are made of porcelain. They're fused together. I really hope I never trip and fall and break them, because they will shatter if I do that. And the ones next to those have something called a laminate, which is like a crown, but it's not it doesn't go all the way around your tooth. It's just on the front. So that's really the extent of my orthodontic work since then. And that's really boring, because it happened when I was like 28. You don't want to read a book about that.
How did the thing feel that was on your teeth that made you talk funny?
Oh, when I got the cast put on at the very beginning after my accident, that was really bulky. Like, that was not supposed to look like teeth. It was not shaped to fit my mouth. It was just like a bunch of plaster, kind of like when you get a cast put on your arm, but smoother than that. So it was just like this big wad of plaster in my mouth, and it made me have a lisp, and it was hard to close my mouth, and so I would drool, and it was gross. Dave, let's ask some questions down in the front, if possible, or like kind of in the middle of the front. Yeah, we got a lot of them. Yeah.
Why did you want to write about what happened to you?
Why did I want to write about what happened to me? For a couple of different reasons. Every time I went to see a new dentist, they'd be like, oh, what's your name? How you doing? And I'd be like, whoa, before you get started, let me explain to you what's happened to me. Before you start drilling, I want to tell you my story. So I was telling the story a lot. And when I started writing the story, I still had a different type of front tooth on. It was called a bonding. And those are not meant to be permanent, but those were turning a little bit gray, and they were starting to sort of wear down. So when I started writing Smile, I was still feeling a little bit self-conscious about the way that I looked. And I felt like I needed to explain it to people. So I just wrote the story so that they could see what I had been through, and then I found that writing the story was very cathartic for me. It was sort of like releasing my bad memories, and now I don't even think about it anymore. Now it's like, it's in a book, I can close that book, and I can move on with my life. So it's kind of my way of processing it and what happened to me. Yes?
Like, you here now, the person you were seem like really different people. Did it seem like that when you were writing it, or was it like this experience was in my life?
So your question is the character me from 11, like is it weird writing about myself kind of in the second person, even though I'm still the same character I was? I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. Like, does anybody here keep a diary? I kept a diary from the time I was about 9 until the time I was about 25. And a lot of times it was a drawn diary, so I was drawing things as they happened to me every single day. I would draw my experiences instead of just writing about them. So it's just something I've been doing for a really long time. So when it came time to write Smile, I was still writing it from my own head, but I was just trying to sort of put myself back into 6th grade and try to remember how I felt. But I still had those diaries too, so I was able to like go back and read them and be like, how did I experience, oh, right, that thing. So, you know, I had a little bit of help from my past self. Okay, 3 more questions.
Out of all parts of the book, did you add anything in or take anything out?
That is a great question. Did I add anything in or take anything out? Well, yeah, there's lots of stuff that you end up leaving out of a story about your life just because you want to keep the story moving forward. So obviously, you know, this took place over the course of 4 years. I didn't include every class I took. I didn't include every single boring meal with my family. I didn't include, you're just sort of editing and trying to remember the parts that were the most important to telling the story. And I did revise a couple of scenes from the first draft, which was the webcomic version. I redrew the first 8 pages, and I added 2 pages to the story, but everything else was pretty much the same as it was when I started it. And it's actually still up online, so you can go and read the online version and compare the 2 if you like. It stops at page 80. I took the rest of it down. Okay, well, 2 more questions.
So is there things that you like added in to like make it funnier, like her running into the locker that?
Yeah. I think I did embellish certain things to make them more entertaining. But I'm pulling from my life, so I did all sorts of embarrassing things, and I had all sorts of, you know, trips and falls and embarrassing things that I did or said. But since I didn't have a video camera at the time to tape everything that happened to me, I had to try and remember and then try to write it in such a way that it would be funny. So.
I'd like to thank you because I had braces when I read this, and it just made me feel better that somebody was having it worse.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm glad that my terrible experience could make you feel better about your less terrible experience. No, actually, I mean that sincerely.
Hi again. The snowflake thing. But, so, A, can I be your new best friend? You like drama and art and reading. It's like this. No, I'm not going to ask you that, Charlotte. So, this is going to kind of get into drama. What aspects of Callie's character like resemble you in a way? What do you confuse her with?
That's a great question. She wants to know what aspects of the character Callie reflect the parts of me. Well, Callie gets really, really excited about things sometimes, and I'm exactly the same way. Like when I get excited about a project or excited about a thing that I'm going to do, it's all that I can think about, and it's all that I want to talk about. But on the same token, like when she gets sad about something, you know, she spends a lot of time like thinking about those things, and it's hard for her to get her head back into real life. So her enthusiasm and mine are similar, but she is also very much a go-getter, and I was the same way when I was a kid. Like, she's like, I'm gonna do this project, it's gonna be awesome, it's gonna work perfectly, and I'm totally like that too. I'm a perfectionist, and so is she.
Have you ever squished your siblings under the couch?
Have I ever squished a sibling under a couch cushion? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think that might be the end of it. So let me thank you guys again for your awesome questions and for being a good audience and for voting for Smile. Thank you so much.